Okay, today we're down in chapter 16 of the book of Proverbs, and we'll begin in verse 31. Again, let me remind you that we will be jumping from subject to subject to subject because we'll be just looking at the verses and verses and verses as we go through, and that is the way that the book of Proverbs is written so that we can take up one subject after another. It is amazing how much there is in each verse. When we really stop to think about Proverbs, and when we take our time and perhaps just able to sit down and read one, and then sit back and unhurriedly think, how much is in that verse? How long could you talk about what is in there? And it's just amazing at what you find that's all encompassed in each one of these verses here. But that's what makes it so exciting. And as we read it, why things just start popping out. And to each one of us, it brings back reminders of things that we have done wrong, where we violated them. And we can say, boy, I wish I'd have thought about this 5 years ago when I did this or that, why it would have kept me out of this trouble or kept me out of that trouble. And so the Proverbs are good for us to think about, to give us guidance about going along in life. Now, in verse 31, the hoary head is a crown of glory, and it shall be found in the way of righteousness. That hoary head, of course, is the gray head, that as a person grows older, their hair grows grayer, and it tells us that the hoary head really is a crown of glory. So take heed as I look out and I see all of these hoary heads that are out there. Instead of feeling bad and thinking, oh boy, I'm getting older and older and older, why, just stop to think that the proverb says that really is a crown of glory. So think about it in that way. We need to have an attitude and a disposition of how we look at life. And this really is a great verse that tells us how to look at life. You know, as you go through life, if you're anything like I am, why, you find that whatever age you're in, you'd like to be at another age. In other words, when you are preteen, you'd sure like to be a teenager so that you would be able to be growing up and have all that fun. When you get to be a teenager, you'd sure like to be able to be an adult so that you didn't have any restrictions on you and you could really go forth and have all that fun. And then when you get in your 20s, out of the teenage years, then you look at it and you say, boy, now I'm in the adult world and I'm working myself to death to try to make ends meet and keep a family together, and I sure wish I would a little bit older, maybe 30, 40, so that I could have a lot of money, so I could have a lot of fun. Then when you get that age, then you start looking, and there never seems to be a time of when we are really happy with our age. We're always find some discontent in there in some way. It really starts at birth, and we're always looking at it in this way. I always think about when I see new parents, they bring the baby home. That night at 2 o'clock, it's up crying. 4 o'clock, it's up crying. I'm home sleeping, but it's crying. And in a little while, why, it gets on mom and dad's nerves, and oh, I'll be so glad when this baby sleeps through the night. I'll just be so glad. Then the baby starts sleeping through the night, but then it picks up another thing, another habit, and then another habit. And then I'll just be so glad when it can crawl and I don't have to carry it everywhere. Then it starts crawling up over the cabinets and everywhere. Oh, I'll be glad when it starts walking. And then it starts walking and things get worse. And boy, I'll just be so glad when. And so a problem that we have in life is, a lot of times we never enjoy our own life, and we never enjoy the life of our children. We're always looking forward to when they get a little bit older so we can enjoy them. And then all of a sudden, we get down to the end of life, and we can look back and say, I really never did get to enjoy my kids. It just seems like there was always something in there. So what it's telling us is, whatever age we're in, it doesn't make any difference what it is. Whatever age we're in, sit down and look at the positive and enjoy it. Then there comes that tip-over time when they talk about going over the hill, when everybody feels sorry for you. And that's this hoary head situation here. And oh my, life is leaving me behind. I'm no longer able to do things that I used to be able to do. And then we can feel sorry for ourselves all the way into the grave. Or we can stop and say, hey, look in this mirror. Isn't that a beautiful head of hair I got up there? And you look at it and you say, what do you mean a beautiful head of hair? Yeah, that's a beautiful head. That's my crown and glory. That head of hair you're looking at today that all of you are laughing at, that's through your ignorance. And so you look at this and you might not see that crown of glory, but that is a crown of glory. And so you look at it and you say, wow, that's just like if I were a king. If David, when he put on his crown, it was an attribute to him. So as we grow older, let's look at those days and say, okay, that really is a crown of glory that you have. Now, we get down into Proverbs, or Ecclesiastes, and of course, it talks about serving God in the days of your youth before the evil days come when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. And so there always comes that. And then, of course, death is the next thing. So then we have to wrestle with that problem. What are we going to do about death? We're able to put it off all the way through life, never think about that nasty thing, until finally you can't put it off any longer. And so you look at it. Now, what are you going to do about that? Now then you're going to say, oh boy, only thing I got left look forward to now is death. I mean, that's all there is to it. Man, this is terrible in life. Now, you can either got that, or you can look at it the other way and say, you know, the most exciting thing in my life is just right around the corner. And it's not too far away from me. I'm going to be able to enjoy that a long time before other people that don't have a hoary head is going to be able to enjoy it. And so you can look at it in that way. It just depends on how you want to look at it. I look back at Kyle and that black hair just shining forth up there, and I feel sorry for him. Think of all the things that's going to happen to him in the next 50 years before he gets that great crown of glory like I have. See? Just think of that. 50 years. You think there's not going to be problems in there? See? You think there's not going to be some heartaches that are in there? Now, you look and you can say, okay, going through it. Now, while I was in it, I enjoyed them. Now then, down here, I'm going to enjoy this part of life. So the whole point that I want to get today is merely this, that he put this in here for a reason. The Holy Spirit didn't just put that in there to say, I want to say something to old people that'll kind of make them feel good. See? Didn't do that. He took a lot of wisdom and he put it down in one little thing. And what he says is, even when you are old, use that as something that is good, because it is a crown of glory, and it shall be found in the way of righteousness. So you look at it and you're able to put your life together, and there's not going to be nearly as many temptations come in life. Your life is going to be easier in a lot of different ways. And so don't feel bad about whatever age you're in. Just stop and say, whatever age I'm in, I'm going to look for the good that's in this age, because younger people don't have it. Older people don't have it. I'm the only one that does have it. And you can say that regardless of what age you are. See? Doesn't make any difference what age you are. you can say that. All right, then 32. Here again is something we're back on that the Proverbs uses over and over again because it is such a big, big part of life. And he talks about anger. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Now, as we go through, I want us to take note, as we've already pointed out, there are perhaps 10, 15 things that stand out in the book of Proverbs. They're brought up over and over again. Some things might just be brought up once or twice, but there are some things that are brought up 10, 15, 20, 30 times. And so you stop and think, wonder why? Well, keep in mind what this book of Proverbs is about is to tell us, now here's a number of things that if you do them, then you'll be able to solve your problems in life. You'll be able to live a happy life. And anger is one of them. Anger is part of man's makeup. And it's how do you handle anger? That's the point. And that's what he's getting at. What he's telling us is, here's how you handle it. Here's how you take care of anger. You know, a lot of times people brag about their anger. And they talk about how that I just don't have the patience other people have. And it's as though they're bragging about, I'm not slow-witted like other people. I don't just put up with a lot of things and go through a lot of things like other people. When something bad happens, I just jump in and I handle it. That's the way I do it. I do it the right way in life. Well, that's the kind of people that nobody likes to start with. And since nobody likes them, it's going to cause them a lot of heartaches through life. And so what the book of Proverbs tells us is, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. So now, you look at it and you say, all right, I brought my anger under control. Now remember what causes anger? Anger is that emotion that we get when we see something that we feel is unfair. When you feel that something is unfair, you see somebody doing something that is unfair, the normal thing is to become angry. So now, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. So, you look at it, you might see a weightlifter. You might see somebody that they are strong physically. You say, boy, I wish I had that. I wish I had that muscle. You know? Or somebody that has a lot of political power. A lot of power. They speak one word, and that word carries a lot of power. Boy, that would be great if I just had that power. Somebody has a lot of money, so they can use that money and they can get things done. They have a lot of might and power in that money. Well, you can be better than all of them. And your life can be better than all of them. And here's what you do. You learn to be slow to anger. And if you're slow to anger, then it's better than the mighty. You see, the book of Proverbs teaches us there are so many little things that we can draw out of here, that we can find how to be happy and contented, even though we might not have money and power and health and so forth on down the line. We might not have those things, but we learn how to use our life so we can find happiness. So now, what do you want to do with anger? Okay, be a person that holds it under control. Be a person that does not fly off of the handle. Be a person that is slow to anger. It said, now he's better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. So if you are capable of bringing your spirit, your attitude, your disposition, your mind under control, you are better than a person that rules a whole city. Now today, when we talk about ruling a city, that's not such a big deal because we say, well, that's talking about the mayor, and I don't even know who the mayor of Monroe is. I mean, it's really not a big deal. But keep in mind, back in those days, every city was a little nation within itself. And so every city had its own king. And they built the walls around it and protect it. And so here now is the man that rules the city. He's the man that everybody knows. He's the man that sits down in the gate, as we'd say in the city hall, and he's the man that they all bring their problems to, and his word is final, and it controls things. He has control of all the people, of everything that goes on. He's a mighty man. But now, inside that city, there can be a person that is mightier than he, that's better than he. And that is somebody who ruleth his spirit. He brings it under control. Brings it under control. So as you look at it, you say, wow. You think of this and how mighty, how powerful is the ability to control our anger. How powerful is that? Then he goes ahead, changes subjects, 33. The lot is in the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of Jehovah. Now you got to think about this one for just a moment, but what they would do is they cast lots. Now in casting lots, that's like we would say rolling the dice or drawing straws. Or when we get down to certain things, we're not sure just way to go about it. Why, we say, okay, I'll cast lots. So one of the ways they would do it is take a white stone and a black stone. And they would throw it out here, and whichever one went the farthest, that's the one that gave you the answer. So you say, I don't know what I should do. I don't know whether I should sell my house and buy a new one. And so you go on, I believe I will cast lots. So if the white goes farther, it's yes, and if the black, it's no. So you cast it out, the white goes farther, you say, okay, the casting of lots and white won. Now we do that with drawing straws or guessing numbers. I'll put my fingers behind my back. You guess how many that I've got. And so it's a game such as that. All right, we can do that. We can determine from our own wisdom what we're going to do. And that's what it means where it says, the lot is cast into the lap. So here on my lap, I have a board or I have something, and I throw the lot out. Now, I'm in control. I made the decision. I decided which stone would be what. I'm making up my mind what I'm going to do. I'm the guy that's in control of this whole thing right here. So I said, now, the lot is in the lap. You can do it. But the disposing is of Jehovah. So again, we got to come back and we got to understand God is in control. Now, we studied about this last week, and this is just another way of putting it. Remember, James says that if a person says, I'm going to go over to this city and I'm going to spend a year, and then I'm going to go into business and I'm going to make so much money, and then I'm going to go over here, and so he begins to plan out his life. He said, whereas you should have said, if God wills, I'll go to this city and I'll do this or I'll do that. Always keep in mind, God is in control. God is in control. Starting in 17. Better is a dry morsel and with quietness therewith than a house full of feasting with strife. Now again, here's something. Over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. Now wonder why he deals with it over and over and over again. It's because it's a weakness of man. It's because we have these things, and it's a weakness of man. Now again, what does it say? Well, better is a dry morsel and quietness therewith than a house full of feasting with strife. Okay, let's compare the two. Here's a house. All that they have to eat tonight is an old, dry piece of toast. It's all dried out. That's what they have. But here's a man and a woman, and they love each other, and they are at peace. Peace reigns within their heart, and they're eating that old, dried piece of toast. Across the street, here's another couple, and they live in a magnificent house. They have plenty of money, and they have a big feast that's going on. They've called a big party. Over there in their house, they have 4 or 5 different kinds of meats. They have a table full of the finest foods that there are, but they're mad at each other. And they're arguing and they're bickering. Now, which is the best? Is it the best to be over here in a peaceful situation, eating an old, dried up piece of toast, or over here in a rich situation, having all of the luxuries that you could have, and yet you're not at peace one with the other? Now, so oftentimes, we get to thinking that happiness depends on money. And nothing could be farther from the truth. See, happiness does not depend upon money. Money doesn't make you happy. Money doesn't make you unhappy. What will make you happy? Well, take money and throw it away. That doesn't make you happy. Take power, throw it away. That doesn't make you happy. And you start out, what makes a person happy? And over and over again here it tells us that it's this peace. It's contentment. This is what will make us happy. So if we'll really believe this, it'll help put ourselves in perspective. It'll help us to keep from being unhappy while we're eating that old dried up piece of toast. So if all you're having tonight are beans and cornbread, just keep in mind that has nothing to do with how happy I am. What kind of relationship is there in the family? If there's peace, then you can be a happy individual. Well, we got to start skipping some things. We only make 3 verses a week, and we'll be in Proverbs for 12 years. And look down at verse 3. The refining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but Jehovah trieth the heart. This is a neat proverb. And a lot of thought was put in it when he put it that way, and we have to put a lot of thought in it in this way. Now, what does it mean? The refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold. Why do you need to know that? Chew on it for about 12 hours and then come back and tell me, why do you need to know that? And you're going to come back and say, I don't know, I don't see. Why will that make me happy? If I learn that the refining pot is for gold, how will that make me happy? Well, it won't until you put the other on it. And here it is, what he says is, there are certain things that does certain things. And we need to learn what does what. We need to learn that there are certain things that have a purpose, and that we can't violate that. You can't stop the purpose. It's like trying to stop that tsunami. It can't be stopped. It can't be stopped. Now, what is it? Well, he said, learn this. First of all, the refining pot is for silver. So you go out and you see now a refining pot. Somebody that has a pot and they're burning it. It's got fire under it, and they are burning the contents in it. And you ask them, what is it? And it's a refining pot. You say, oh, okay. Now that refining pot, that's not for cooking biscuits. That refining pot is not for making tea. That refining pot is for refining silver. That refining pot is made so that when you put the things in it and burn it, silver will come out of it and silver will come forth. Then he says, and the furnace is for gold. Now, if you want to bring gold out of things, you have to get a little hotter. So now then we move to the furnace. And so a furnace, its purpose is for gold. Its purpose is to burn up all of the extra material that is around it, meld it, burn it up, turn it into liquid or gas, separate it, so that when you get through, all that you have left is gold. So if you want to work with silver, you get this. If you want to work with gold, you get this. But that's not the point. We want to work with ourselves. So what do? He says, but Jehovah trieth or testeth the heart. So just like the refining pot is for silver and the furnace is for gold, Jehovah is what tests our hearts. Now, if you have a piece of jewelry and you want to know how much gold there is in it, you say, gold is really high priced now, and I'd like to know how much gold there is in here. Do I have a half an ounce of gold, or I wonder how much gold there is in here? Well, you take it out to Oliver's, and Oliver then will put it in his furnace. He'll put it in whatever he puts it in, bring up that temperature to 2,500 degrees or whatever it is that he has to bring it up to, and he tests it. And then he'll turn around and he'll say, no, you don't have any gold in this. And he'll tell you how much gold you got in it because he can test it and he knows what it's worth then. Okay, what kind of person are you? What kind of person am I? Am I a person that is made of silver or gold or dirt, rocks, clay? I have no value. What kind of person am I? That is Jehovah's job. That is what Jehovah will bring out. Jehovah will try you. Jehovah will show. Jehovah will show the kind of person you are. That's why he puts us through our chastening. He puts us through there to show us what kind of person we are and to help make us a better person. Think about Abraham at this time. Abraham, wow. What kind of a guy was he? Well, he came out of the Ur of the Chaldees. That shows he was a pretty fine guy. And God told him, he said, now you're just going to go wherever I tell you to do. And he did that for 75 years. That's pretty potent man. He told Abraham, he said, now you're going to have a son in your old age. Here it is, Sarah's 90, you're 100, but you two are going to have a son. He believed him. He went on with the system. Wow, there's a man of real faith. And finally he had a son. But he had not been put to the test all the way. What can you do now to really test Abraham to see how faithful is the man? How much faith does he actually have? You see, this is up to Jehovah. So Jehovah then waits until his son is somewhere up there around teenage years. And then he tells Abraham to do that which is totally inconceivable. He said, take your son and slay him, kill him. Well, Abraham was called out of the Ur of the Chaldees for only one purpose, and that was to have a boy that would one day have Christ to be born through his lineage. He had lived all of those many years and suffered all of those many things for one purpose, only one purpose, and that is to have a boy that would get married and Christ would come through his lineage. And now then, in his old age, God says, Abraham, take your boy your only boy, and slay him. Now, what could be more unbelievable than that? You can't think of anything. And yet Abraham didn't hesitate one iota. He immediately went to work. He took his boy where God told him to take him. He raised his knife and was getting ready to slay him. Had no idea what's going to happen. I'm getting ready to kill the only thing, the only reason I've ever existed in this life. Now, the Hebrew writer gives us a little insight into what was in Abraham's mind. And the Hebrew writer says that Abraham thought the only way this can be rectified is that God will raise him from the dead. So God said, kill him. I'm going to kill him. And I'm sure God will raise him from the dead. And when Abraham took him out and did that, Abraham's faith was tried. But who did it? It was God. That's what this is saying. God will put you to the test. God will show you the kind of person you are. And that really is the only way that you're going to find out, is God is going to be the one that shows you this. God is the one that will try your heart. Think about Job for a minute. God asked Satan one day, what have you been doing? Satan said, I've been going to and fro up and down the earth. And God said, well, have you considered my servant Job? And Satan said, nope, I haven't done anything with Job, said, because you protect him all the time. You give him all these good things of life. And he said, so there's no use of me trying to break his faith, trying to break his spirit down. And so God said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to turn you loose on Job. I'll let you do anything you want to do except take his life. That's all. You can't kill him. We're going to put him to the test. The only thing we're going to save is just him. We're going to put him to the test. So Satan went to work, took away all of his wealth, all of his children. His wife turned against him. All of his friends turned against him. He lost his health. He lost everything he had. People who used to be his servants now walk along and make fun of him. He's lost it all. But he didn't lose his faith. And finally, when it got down to the end, God then brought him back, gave him double, but his faith was tried. And so it's God who tries the spirit. That's the point that we're getting at. So then you say, okay, you mean I can learn something by going out to Oliver's house then? You sure can. Take your rings out to Oliver's this afternoon. Say, Oliver, tell me how much silver and how much gold there is in there. And then you watch him. And he has special equipment to tell you about the silver. He has special equipment to tell you about the gold. You say, thank you. And then you come home. And you say, now that is what God does to me. When I have my problems in life, and I go through all these problems that I have, that's God trying my spirit. Boy, if we could just believe that, and we could just believe those things that we've read today, wouldn't it be able to turn our life around a great deal? Well, there's one other thing that's important, and that is a clock. Oliver's refining will tell you about silver, but the clock says, Lowell, stop. So there's where we are.